it's time to bring in our good friend, Dr. Joe Congini, Sports Medicine Center at Akron Children's Hospital. Joe, good morning, my friend. Where do you want to start this morning?
Good morning, Ray. We're headed into the last football game of the year. And one of the things that happens, a lot of things happen around the end of the football year. One of the things that happens in the NFL is the medical report comes out. And the medical report is delivered by the medical chief officer, Dr. Alan Sills, got him down in Vanderbilt. He came out with the report, and one of the highlights that everybody talked about in a lot of the media stations that people asked me a lot about was the fact that he announced that 18% increase this year in concussions in 2022. 18% increase. 149 concussions in 2022. There were 126 in 2021. And the last 3 years, we've been averaging about 130. So you would think, hey, that's a step backwards. But the way he kind of tried to explain it, maybe not so much. So let me tell you kind of what was behind those numbers for him. The way he described it is, there were a number of reasons, but one of those was a protocol change where they broadened and strengthened the definition of concussion. So that, in other words, fewer players were able to fly under the radar screen. If they had a problem, they were being checked. And so for many years, people, were flying under the radar screen. Not so much anymore. They really made the definition tighter. Number two, they did an average of 1.6 evaluations for concussions per game. That was quite a bit more than any other year. So, in other words, kind of in the same vein as the first point, they're casting a wider net, so of course they're going to pick up more people that were concussed. Number three is twice as many, 2 times as many medical timeouts from the independent spotters up in the box. So they're pretty happy with how that's working, that the independent spotters up in the box are doing a good job picking up people who have behavior patterns that make them suspicious, and therefore more people being checked, like the point said earlier, and with that, an increase. But still, an 18% increase is a bit of a concern. They did have a couple of other points that I thought were interesting in the medical report, Ray. Number one, player injuries overall were down 5.6%, including and especially lower extremity injuries decreased. Number two, this is a big point. This is 2 years in a row where there's a disproportionately high number of injuries on kickoffs and punts, both concussions and lower extremity injuries. And I think you can look in the next month or two to there being some changes again to kickoffs and punts because of that's 2 years in a row. And I know they were considering changes last year. They didn't do it. I think there will be changes this year. That's my prediction. And one that caught me by surprise is they're ready to roll out new helmets next year. There's a specific helmet that's unique to quarterbacks and a specific helmet unique to offensive linemen that they've been working on for a couple of years. And so I'm anxious to get a better look at those. But those were a couple things in the medical report. But what caught everybody's attention and was the headliner was the 18% increase in concussions.
Dr. Joe Congini with us, of course, Sports Medicine Center, Akron Children's Hospital. I guess for me, from the outside looking in, Joe, when I see more concussions this year than the previous year, to summarize what you just said, it seems like we're doing a better job of diagnosing the concussions maybe than we have in the past.
That's exactly right. We're more sensitive to it, so we're picking it up when perhaps and hopefully earlier in the process. I think that's the point they were trying to make, which if you just read the first line of 18% increase, that would be something that maybe you wouldn't pick up on. But that's what they're hoping to convey. The point they're trying to get across, the doctor who is the medical chief officer, is that we are more sensitive to it and picking them up sooner and doing a better job to keep the players safer. Now, we'll see if that plays out over time. There's still time for that to play out, and we'll keep an eye on that. And we'll keep an eye on some of those, whether the rules changes and the new look of the helmets, I think, will be interesting. We'll see that by Hall of Fame game next year. Could be could be there's some speculation the Browns in the Hall of Fame game with Joe Thomas possibly going in. So a lot of exciting things. One other footnote that I just wanted to mention. Sorry about that pun. Oh my gosh, footnote. Would you believe that in a Pro Bowl week where there's really no specific contact, that a Browns player gets hurt with a dislocated toe? Our very excellent defensive lineman, Myles Garrett, dislocates his toe. Now, everybody said, hey, no big deal. The X-ray was negative and no surgery. But still, to dislocate your toe, you had to stretch or tear the ligaments around the toe. And that's a concern for down the road as to whether that could be a problem that would rear its ugly head again. In a bunch of games that supposedly were non-contact, that's what happens to one of our Cleveland Browns faithful. But those are the explanations the NFL came out with, and we're down to the last game of the year. And enjoy the Super Bowl. And I know chomping at the bit when we get to the high schools, the spring sports are just about ready to get going. The winter sports are just about to get going on their playoffs. And so lots of other things going on. But that was the end of the year medical report for the pro football and the NFL.
Joe, one more note before I let you go, because I did think about you in regards to this major story of LeBron becoming the number one scorer all time in the NBA last night. And obviously here with all of us from Akron, very proud of the young, the man from Akron, Ohio now. But, you know, the way he keeps his body in shape, and he's 39 years old, the way he has done that through the years, limited trips on the injury list, goes in regards to sports medicine as far as staying in tip-top shape, rigorous training, and he's been able to stay on the court because he did that feat in 100 games less than it took Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to break the scoring mark.
Oh, no doubt about it. I think we talked about it a few weeks ago, Ray. The sports scientists that he has worked with are really on the cutting edge and well ahead of everybody else. And lots of people are trying to catch up and utilize some of the science that LeBron has used. But no doubt that a major part of last night's record is staying healthy, staying strong. You can see it when you see him play. And it is heartwarming that he's from Akron, Ohio. We saw him, you and I, from the very beginning. And kind of funny that as they looked at 38,000 points, 22,000 of those were scored in his two stints in Cleveland. So we got a chance to watch and see a lot of the record in the NBA. And you're absolutely right. A lot of the important ability of athletes is availability. And he's always available, isn't he? In this day and age where so many stars are sitting out 10, 15, 20 games, did we see that much with LeBron in his career?
No, not at all. And, you know, he's still performing at such a high level. You know, he's among the top 5, 6 players in the NBA, if not even higher than that. And he's 39 years of age. He has certainly gone to the sports science and has taken care of that body in very limited trips on the disabled list for sure. Joe, my friend, as always, good talking sports medicine with you. We'll catch up next week.
Thanks, Ray. Talk to you next week. Have a great week.
You as well. Dr. Joe Congini, Sports Medicine Center, Akron Children's Hospital with us.